Hello students, hope you all are doing well and healthy. In today's tutorial, we are gonna learn about multiplication and division of fractions. So to understand it completely, do watch it till the end. So let's get started. Now let's first learn how to multiply proper fractions. Say if we have two fractions like p over q times a over b. So we need to multiply numerators together. So that would be equals to p times a, and same as we multiply denominators together. So that would be q times b. Now let's understand with the help of an example. Say 5 over 6 times 2 over 3. So that would be equals to 5 times 2 over 6 times 3, and that gives us 10 over 18. Now, as I've already mentioned in our earlier videos, that in fractions we should always write our final answer in a simplified or reduced form. So 10 and 18 can be simplified as 5 over 9. Let's try another example. Say 9 over 16 times 8 over 21. So that would be equals to 9 times 8. We multiply the numerators and then we multiply the denominators together. So 9 times 8 gives us 72, and 16 times 21 would be equals to 336. And then we can simply reduce it. So let's reduce it by 8, and that would be equals to 9 over 42. But then we can see 9 and 42 again can be simplified by 3. So let's divide it by 3, and that would be equals to 3 over 14. Now let me give you one tip on multiplying these kind of fractions. So say if we need to multiply 9 times 8 over 16 times 21. So instead of multiplying these first, always check if you can reduce these fractions. That means you can reduce any of the numerator by any of the denominator if it can be, and then multiply. For example, like in this one, since we can reduce 9 and 21, we can also reduce 8 and 16. So first we can do that. So let's reduce 9 and 21, and that gives us 3 and 7. I've reduced it by 3. And same way we can reduce 8 and 16 by 8. So that would be equals to 1 and then 2. And then we can multiply. So let's see, 3 times 1 equals 3, and then 2 times 7 equals 14. If you first reduce, then we are simplifying smaller number. So that is more easier and simpler. Now let's see how to multiply mixed numbers. Say 1 and 1/5 times 5 and 2/3. Now to multiply mixed numbers, we first convert these to improper and then multiply. So let's first convert these to improper. So 1 and 1/5 would be equals to 6/5 in improper form, and then 5 and 2/3 would be equals to 17/3. And then we follow the same method as we have done in the previous example. So first we check if we can reduce any of the numerator and any of the denominator. So 6 times 17 over 5 times 3. Now we can see that 6 and 3 can be simplified. So this would be equals to 1, and this would be equals to 2 because I've simplified it by 3. So we do 2 times 17 now because we cannot reduce it anymore. So 2 times 17 times 5 times 1. So that would gives us 34 over 5, and then we have to write it in a mixed form. So that equals 6 and 4/5. Now let's try one more example. Say if we have 5 and 1/6 times 8. Now here, if you can see, we are multiplying a mixed number by a whole number. So of course, first we have to convert this mixed number into improper. So that would be equals to 31 over 6 times 8. Now since 8 is a whole number and there is no denominator we can see, so we just put 1 as a denominator, because whole number can always be written as the whole number over 1 if we just need to write it in terms of fraction. Though it's not a fraction, but just to make it complete so that we can multiply it, because most of the students, they get confused whenever it is like, the fraction times a whole number. They just multiply that whole number by both numerator and denominator, which is incorrect. So first what we do, we just put as 1 as a denominator. And then now we have to do the same as we have done in the previous questions again. So we do 31 times 8 over 6. And then we see, it's 6 times 1, I'm sorry. So we see if we can reduce any of the numerator and any of the denominator. So we can reduce 8 and 6 by 2. So that gives us 2 times 4 is 8 and 2 times 3 is 6. And that would be equals to 31 times 4 over 3 times 1. And then 31 times 4 equals 124. And 3 times 1 equals 3. And then we can simply write it in a mixed form, and that would be equals to 41 and 1/3. Now let's learn how to divide fractions. Say we are taking the same, like if we have the fractions p over q divided by a over b. So first we reciprocate or flip the second fraction. Now reciprocate means like the second fraction here is a over b. So the reciprocal is b over a. You just need to flip the fraction. So numerator becomes a denominator and denominator becomes the numerator. And then we have to convert that division into the multiplication. So it becomes like p over q times b over a. Now let's check out with the help of an example. Say if we have 5 over 8 divided by 3 over 7. Now since 3 over 7 is our second fraction, so make sure we always need to flip the second fraction. So what we do here is we just simply flip the second fraction, and that becomes 7/3, and then we convert this division into the multiplication. So in other words, we are just multiplying the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So that would be equals to 35 over 24. Since we cannot reduce any of the numerator and any of the denominator, so we simply multiplied it. And then finally we can write it in a mixed form. So that would be equals to 1 and 11/24. Now let's see how we divide the mixed numbers. So the first step is we have to convert mixed numbers to improper and then divide both fractions using the same method as I've just explained. Let's check out an example. Say we have 3 and 3/5 divided by 1 and 3/5. So first we have to convert both of these mixed numbers to improper. So 3 and 3/5 would be equals to 18/5, and 1 and 3/5 gives us 8/5. Now we have to reciprocate the second fraction, which is 8/5. So 18/5, and when we reciprocate 8/5 we get 5/8, and then convert that division into the multiplication. Now we check if we can reduce any of the numerator and the denominator. So yes, we can reduce 5 and 5, so they cancels out, because when we divide both these by 5, it gives us 1. And then we can also reduce 18 and 8, so that would be equals to 9 and 4. So now we get 9 fourths, and then finally we can write that into a mixed form, and that would be equals to 2 and 1/4. Now let's try another example. So if we have 7/9 divided by 14. Now, as I've already mentioned, that since 14 is a whole number, so we can simply write down 1 under it as a denominator. And then, of course, we have to flip the second fraction, which is 14 over 1. So that gives us 1 over 14, and then write down division as a multiplication. Now we simply multiply it. So multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and check if we can reduce any of the top and the bottom number. So we can reduce 7 and 14, and that would be equals to 1 and 2. So now we do 1 times 1 and 9 times 2, and that is equals to 1 over 18. And just a quick tip as a review, that in dividing fractions, make sure we need to reciprocate second fraction and not the first fraction. Now let's quickly try these problems. So in the first one, we need to multiply 4 9 times 2 7. So we multiply the numerators, which is 4 times 2, and the denominators. And then we check if we can reduce any of the numerator by denominator. Now since we cannot reduce 4 by either 9 or 7, and same as 2 by either 9 or 7, so we simply multiply these. So 4 times 2, 8, and then 9 times 7 is 63. Let's try the next one. Now in the next one, since we have this 5 as a whole number, so we just put 1 as a denominator, as I've mentioned before. So 5 over 1 times 5 over 8, and that would be equals to 25 over 8, which is same as 3 and 1/8 as a mixed fraction. Let's try the next one. Since we can see we have a mixed number here, so we have to convert that into improper. So that would be equals to 8 times 3, 24 plus 2, that's 26 over 8 times 9 over 10, and then that would be equals to 26 times 9 over 8 times 10. And then we see if we can reduce any of the numerator and any of the denominator. So we can reduce 26 by 8 or 26 by 10 as well. So I'm going to reduce here 26 by 8, and we can divide both by 2. So that gives us 13, and this would be equals to 4. Now we cannot reduce any of the numerator by any of the denominator anymore. So that would be equals to 117 over 40. And finally we can write that as a mixed form, which is equals to 2 and 37/40. Let's try the next one. So since it's a division, so first we have to reciprocate the second fraction, which is 1/2, and that would be equals to 2 over 1, and then write that as a multiplication. And then we can check if we can reduce any of the numerator by denominator. So yes, we can reduce 2 and 2, so that would be equals to 1 and 1 over here. So 11 times 1 gives us 11, and then 1 times 1 equals 1. So the final answer would be equals to 11. So in the next one, again, we can see we have mixed numbers and it's a division. So we have to first convert mixed numbers to improper. So 1 and 3/11 would be equals to 14/11. And then 2 and 1/3 would be equals to 7/3. Now we reciprocate the second fraction, which is 7/3, and that would be equals to 3/7. and then convert that division into the multiplication. Now we have to check if we can reduce any of the numerator by any of the denominator. So we can reduce 14 and 7 by 7. So that would be equals to 2 and 1. So now we multiply. So 2 times 3 and then 11 times 1. So 2 times 3 equals 6 and then 11 times 1 equals 11. So the final answer would be equals to 6 11ths. Let's try the last one. So 4/5 divided by 10. So since it's a division again, now first write that 10 because it's a whole number. So let's write down as 1 as a denominator. And then we flip the second fraction, which is 10 over 1. So 4/5 times 1 over 10. Then we can check if we can reduce any of the numerator by any of the denominator. So we can reduce 4 and 10 by 2. So that would be equals to 2 times 2, 4, and 2 times 5 is 10. Now we're left with 2 times 1 and then 5 times 5. And that would be equals to 2 over 25. So that is all for today's video. See you in the next video. Till then, keep practicing, keep learning, and be safe.